Hey friends, welcome to the Tuesday night lesson. This week we are working on the 1954 hit, Mr. Sandman, and it goes a little something like this. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream, make her the cutest that I've ever seen. Give her two lips like roses on clovers. Tell that the lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone. See, I ain't got nobody to call my own. Sandman, turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. So the tune goes a little something like that. If you haven't had a chance yet, hop on over to my website and grab the song sheet for this, which includes the tab for that intro section, which is the main thing that we're going to work on here since we haven't done any fingerstyle tunes. So for this intro section, we are starting on a C major 7, which we used last week in I'm Confessing, which is all open strings except your second finger on the second fret of your A string here on that B. That's going to be our first chord, and then we're just going to an A minor 7, which is all of our open strings, and then we are going to a G7th chord to end this, and we're going to have a little suspension in there. So it's just those three chords that I'm sure you already know. But what's going to separate this from what we've done previously is we're going to be playing individual notes instead of just strumming through chords. So if you've never done any fingerstyle work before, we're going to do just a little crash course here to get you all going. For our purposes, I'm going to kick the tripod here, which is how we do this. This is how great my setup is. It's fun. So anyway, now that we're back, we're going to take our hand and we're going to put it on like this. Now you'll note that my fingers, we only have 4 strings on the ukulele. So each of our fingers is going to get assigned to one of these strings. There's always going to be, we're going to ignore this rule sometimes, but for the time being and for this song, we're going to have 1 finger per string for plucking. So anything that's on your G string here, we're going to use our thumb. On your C string, you're going to be using your first finger. On your E string, we're going to be using our middle finger. And on the A string here, we're going to use our third finger. Now, when I'm doing this, I usually won't do fingerstyle stuff holding my uke up here like this. It's a lot easier if you put it down on your knee in a more natural position, or if you play a tenor with a strap, it'll put it in a nice position, or else our hand gets kind of funky and twisted like this. So for the fingerstyle stuff, it's a little bit nicer to have it down. Now I'm gonna lower the camera a little bit so y'all can see what I'm doing here. So when we're doing this, if you have the tab, it shows you exactly what we're doing. So we're starting on our C string, and you're just going to pluck an open C with your first finger, and then the second note is an E. So you're going to pluck that with your second finger, with your middle finger. And you see my fingers aren't going off too much from it. We're not doing this. We're keeping our hand anchored and in place the entire time. So we're going C, E, and then we're going to grab our open G string. So you're just going to pluck your thumb. Those are your first 3 notes here. And then we're going to go up here. As I said, we're playing our C major 7th chord, so your finger's going to be on the 2nd fret there. And you're going to use your third finger to get that going on with the B. So those first 4 notes. And then we're just going down to an open A. So your third finger again over here, playing your open A string. So those first couple notes are going to sound like this. And then we're going to go back down to our G, which is going to be with your thumb here. And back to the E. And down to the C. So that whole first measure, which is going to repeat in just a moment. So we're halfway through the fingerstyle section already. It's going to be first finger, second finger, thumb, third finger, thumb, second finger, first finger. All right? And then we're going to swap over to our G7th chord, which if you don't know it is your open G string, your second finger on the second fret of your C string, your first finger on the F on the first fret of your E string, and then your third finger is going right where your second finger used to be on the B on the second fret of our A string. Now for purposes, we're going to resolve this, but it's going to start with our third finger here. So you're going to have, even though we're playing this G7th here, we're going to be playing a C initially on the third fret here, and then we're going to end up sliding it back down in just a moment. All right, so your hand position's almost identical. And the fingering pattern is exactly the same as what we just did as far as the right hand. So you're going C string, E string, G string, A string, A string. All right, so it's going to look like this. So it's, and then the second A string note, you're just going to take your third finger here, slide it on down, and then just strum the whole chord. So the second bar sounds like this. All right, so here are the first two bars of the fingerstyle section. All right, and I'm going to do that one more time. I'm just going to give you a close-up of my right hand here so you can really see what's happening. And you can follow along on the tab to see what the left hand's doing. But right now, this is what we're more concerned about. So nice and slow, it's going to look like this. You get a little angle here so you can see what I'm plucking. All right, and then we're gonna repeat that exact same thing, except you'll note on the last note here, we're gonna play just an open G string instead of our chord for the lead up getting into the song. So that whole fingerstyle section, when you put it all together, this is the tabbed portion at the top, sounds like this. All right, and then we're right into the song, Mr. Sandman. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. And let's go through some of these chords here just in case they're ones that you don't know. Go through this real fast, and I'll give you some optional voicings that you can use if you'd like. So for the A section of this, once we get out of the fingerstyle, we're gonna be on just our C major chord. So third finger on the third fret of your A string here. Now with this, I wrote it out on the chart in what's called cut time as opposed to common time. In common time, we just have 4 beats to the measure, and our quarter note gets one of the beats. In cut time, it's going to be 2-2. So we're actually, each of these measures is really going to be double the length, but for the sake of writing it out and keeping it short, we did it. So you'll really be thinking in eighth notes or 8 beats on each chord. So you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, before we change chords, even though it's written as just one bar on the chart. And if you listen to the song, it'll make a lot more sense as for the timing of these chords. So we're starting on that C major chord, and then we're going to a B7th, which is going to be your third finger on the 4th fret of your G string, your second finger on the 3rd fret of your C string, your first finger on that F sharp on the 2nd fret of your E string, and then your A string is going to be open. It'll sound like this. All right. And then we're going to the E7th, which is one of those chords that we did last week. We have our first finger on the G sharp on the 1st fret of our G string, our second finger on the D on the 2nd fret of our C string, open E string, and then we have our third finger on that B, just like with our C major 7th at the beginning of the tune, on that on the A string here. So our E7th, so we're going to have that for a bar. And then A7th, which is another one we've done before. First, just your first finger on the 1st fret of your C string. Everything else is open. There's your A7th. And then we're going to D7th, which is another one we've done a bunch of times. First finger on the 2nd fret of your G string here, open C. Second finger on the F sharp on the 2nd fret of your E string, and then open. Now alternatively, you can do this as a bar chord, and you can take your first finger and put it all the way across on your 2nd fret here, and then on the 3rd fret there, just put your 2nd finger or 3rd finger, whichever works better for you, on that C. That's the voicing that I prefer, but some people don't like bar chords. So this 2-finger voicing is a nice option to have if you're not comfortable with bar chords. It makes it a little bit easier. Then we're going to the G7th, which we've already played, and then back to C. Now I threw in this chord. I'm going to give you 2 ways to play this last bar of the A section. Last week in I'm Confessing That I Love You, we used a G7 sharp 5 and talked about how to make up that chord. And that's what's happening melodically in this song, is a G7 sharp 5, resolving to a G7th. So what we can do, if you'd like to play that chord, you don't have to, is your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of your C string, your 1st finger on the 1st fret of your E string, and then your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of your A string, that G7 sharp 5, and then we go right back to a regular G7th. If that one's not comfortable for you, we do need to have that D sharp in there. It's an important note because that's what the melody's doing, and we'll clash if we don't play that in the chord that we're playing over that bar. But that G7 sharp 5 is a little tough for you, and it can be. It's a bit of a finger twister. What you can do is take your G7th chord that you already know and move it up 1 fret. And in this case, you want to not strum your low G string or mute it with one of your fingers. You just take your 2nd finger and place it close to it, and it won't come out. It'll sound like this, and it's an A flat 7th chord. And that's how it was originally written in this song, was a half step up dominant 7th chord. So here's the entire A section of the song, then we'll go through the B. So it's C, B7, E7, A7, D7, G7, C. Now I'm going to play that alternate one for this last bar. So you say A flat. Alright? And as I said, you can play your G7 sharp 5 there as well. Now we're going to repeat the first 4 bars. The beginning of the B section is exactly the same. It's C, B7, E7th, A7th. So we just need to address the last line, which includes 2 chords that we haven't worked on today yet. That's it. You're almost there. So our D minor is what we're going to use for this first part. It's going to be your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of your G string, your 3rd finger on the 2nd fret right next to it of your C string, and your 1st finger on that F on the 1st fret of your E string, and your A string will be open. It's your D minor 7th. And then we're going to go to an F minor. And it's going to look like this. You're going to have an A flat on the 1st fret of your G string here, 1st finger, and then you're going to have your 2nd string, your C, open. Your 2nd finger is going to play the F on the 1st fret of your E string, and then you're going to reach your pinky or 3rd finger up, whichever you'd like. I like my pinky on the C on the 3rd fret of your A string there. And you can also do this as a F minor 6th, which is another one we've gone over before. I like that one there, but either or works. And then we're going D7th, G7th, C, G7th. All chords we've done. So what I'm going to do is go through all of the chords of this tune nice and slowly, call them out so you can watch my hands while I'm going through this. So this is beginning at the A section after the tabbed part. So we're starting on C to B7 to E7 to A7. D7 to G7 to C to G7 sharp 5 to G7 to C, B7, E7, A7 to D minor to F minor to D7, G7, C, that's the entire tune. So please go get the chord sheet for this, and if you missed any of the lesson, just shoot me a message and I'll send you the video so you can check it out. It'll also be live for the next 24 hours or so. And if you have any suggestions or any questions about this song, please feel free to shoot me a message or send me an email. I'm always happy to help out, and I will see you all next week. Have a good one.